minus 20 seconds. 15 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Okay. Rep your city. Let me see the mic. Rep your city. Give me the mic. Rep your city. I got you. Rep your city. I'm gonna tell you about mine. Rep your city.
It's time for us to go live, so rep your city. I really would appreciate if y'all roll with me. Feeling this music cause it makes me wanna step. And if you don't want it to, then you lying to yourself. Cause every time we party, we gon' have fun. I don't know about you, but I'ma rep where I'm from.
Rep your city. Okay. Rep your city. Let me see the mic. Rep your city. Give me the mic. Rep your city.
Welcome to the RYC Live show this evening. I am Artistic, your host for tonight, and this is the RYC Live show, Rep Your City Throwback Thursday night. And tonight, as usual, we always have great surprises, great guests, great talent, highlighting our city, Chicago, always trying to represent our city. And as usual, tonight we have a special guest, one of our very own, a man who is talent of many faces, many hats is worn here. This is an old friend of mine going back to the 90s, graffiti artist, B-boy, this man is also entrepreneur. That's another element for those that may not know that is a part of the hip hop culture. So his resume is very long. He actually has a paint store that he owns here in Chicago, and then also one in Madison, Wisconsin. Without further ado, I would like to introduce my man, the one and only, the legend, Mr. Teel One.
What's up, man?
How you doing, my brother?
Good. How you been?
Chilling, man. Great to have you on the show.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate it. That intro was dope.
Thank you. Yeah. So welcome to the RYC Live show this evening, and as usual, we like to just get right into it and go all the way back to your beginning. So as most people know you as a graffiti writer here in Chicago. So tell the viewers, when did you start in the game of writing?
Well, I guess that depends who you're actually, your definition of when. Some people want to say one way or another. The way I was brought up is basically when you just started writing on things. Summer of 88, 89 is when I started doing graph. I was like 12, 13 years old. It's about my youngest son's age now. So
Okay. And that's basically it right there. Writing our name in graffiti on the wall, as Rakim said.
Yeah, it just kept going from there. It just kept escalating. Just kept wanting to do more of it. It was wanted to see my name everywhere. So I just kept picking up the skill, just doing it more and more and more. 30 some years later, I'm still doing it. Not as much as, I should be, but I'm still doing permission walls and stuff,
Okay. That's cool. Now, what inspired you though? What inspired you to want to get into it?
Truthfully, the reason why I started writing on things is the death of my mother. She had died when I was in 7th grade. And, us being Generation X, right? We don't do therapy. There was no person to go and talk to. You know, it was kind of one of those, like, you get slapped in the face and, you know, man up and take care of your, you know, do what you got to do, get over it, you know. So the anger, I guess, that I was holding in helped me in that positive way. You know, it depends, again, who you ask, right? For me, it was a positive thing because I was doing my art, I was getting my name out, you know, learning how to, you know, do the hip hop thing and all the graffiti stuff and all that stuff. So it was like an energy release for me, you know, and I think that's what kept me sane, and that's what my motivation was, my inner anger, I guess, to want to release it somehow instead of, you know, doing other things that other kids were doing, you know, like gang banging or dealing drugs or beating people up for no reason. You know, I had a lot of stick-up kids when I grew up. So yeah, that was my outlet. That's how I got over what I was, the issues that I had, you know.
Okay.
And it was fun. That was the other reason, you know.
Right. Now, did you have anyone, you know, any writers that kind of was like inspiring to you that was from your neighborhood, or did you see, what did it start for you in the neighborhood, or was it in other areas?
No, it was in the neighborhood. Like when so I grew up, and I was blessed, you know, where I grew up, it was in Edgewater, which is like literally down the street from Uptown. So it was kind of, at one point we actually thought it was Uptown when we were growing up, and then we were like later told, no, this is Edgewater. Like, you know, we then, you know, were corrected, but it's that neighborhood, you know, like Uptown, Edgewater, right down the street from the beach, you know. So it was very at that time it wasn't a great neighborhood, but it wasn't a horrible neighborhood either, you know, the way I feel about it. But I grew up around all of the TCK brothers were like literally like next door neighbors and down the street. I was honored to have grew up in the same neighborhood as Teel. And Teel's back then, you know, till to this day, I respect Teel a lot, you know, but back then as a shorty, like looking up to Teel, and he might be like 4 years older than I am, but like to me, he was already an OG, right? And like he was like graph god from the neighborhood, you know. He was like, he was already Aerosol crew. He had already been in X-Men, like the original X-Men, and he quit X-Men or stopped being X-Men to get into Aerosol, which was like, to me, was like this big, like, wow, you know, he's part of the same crew Design is, you know, another guy that I look up to, you know. So it's like, and I could go down the whole list of, you know, Aerosol crew, like a big fan, you know, and he was connected to them, which made me feel that I was connected, you know. It was kind of like, you know, when one of your older boys is in the mob and you're in the same clique, you know, and you're like kind of connected to the mob, you know, that's how it felt, you know, because it was Teel, right?
Right.
He never really talked to us too much. His best friend was Art One, so he was connected to TCK that way. So when he would come around, he'd go talk to Art One and the older guys like Riso and all those guys. So it'd be like, we'd be all starstruck, you know, be like, oh, there's Teel, you know, like the rock star came in, and then we were like all quiet down and like let him talk to his boys and whatever. And then he would leave. He was like this mysterious guy, you know. I also went to Sen. That was one of the high schools that I went to, one of the 5. And
Wow.
That's, I mean, bro, I go out forever about all the high schools and why I went to different high schools. But Sen was one of the high schools. They used to call it Graffiti High.
Yeah. How long did you go to Sen?
I went to Sen for 1 year.
Okay.
For my, it was like half a year of sophomore and half a year of junior, or like my whole sophomore. It's kind of hard to remember. It's a little blurry, but I mean, it's been like 20 some years already. But when I went there, it was like a spew of like Krev was there, Nerd. So all of Poor Crew was there. All of Wet Crew was in Sen. Teel had just graduated when I went there, so it was kind of like, oh, this is where Teel went, you know. So again, and then we had my crew back then was not, you know, MUL or H2O. H2O actually started in Sen, but we weren't H2O yet. We were back then. We were WV, which was Wicked Vandals. It was like the toy crew that we started, but it was huge, right? Because there was a lot of writers in that crew.
Okay.
One of the guys that actually came from that crew is Crumb, that started TMS crew.
Mm-hmm.
You remember TMS that was Noble and Pose and all those guys came from that crew.
Yeah,
did that crew. So it was kind of like, you know, we were all connected to each other one way or another. You know, the DNA. We all from the lineage tree. You know? And that's where I met my boy, one of my best friends, Plain. That's H2O now for life. So, yeah, that's. I mean, I got tons of stories about the neighborhood and the people that were there and all the crews that came out. I mean, I used to hang around with Jam Crew in Edgewater, you know, because they were part of TMR, which was the Master Race. Because TCK and Jam Crew started TMR. So that was their unity crew, you know. J4F was around, you know, my boy Civil. Back then, we used to hang around a lot when we were younger. I'm trying to remember KMD, you know, guys from JMC, you know, all those guys. We were all just hanging out and clicking, and then nighttime would hit because we'd hang out, you know, on Friday nights in the neighborhood, and we'd all get on the train, like crew, loads of guys, and to Belmont, you know, and let's go to the Medusas. You know, it just became a party. You know, it was just like one party after another. We were just always kicking and having fun, Dunkin' Donuts, Muskies, all that other good stuff. You know.
Yeah, good times.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's and you mentioned JMC, Jam Master Crew, and that was basically a group of b-boys and graffiti writers, right?
Yeah. So one of my homies, Soki, his older brother, he inherited the crew from his older brother. And then now he has handed it down to his younger brother, which is, oh my God, I'm getting old. I forget his younger brother's name, but he's got a younger brother that also writes. He's pretty well known. I just had a brain fart.
Okay.
But yeah, he brought all the people together that were there, and we actually met. We knew each other from Medusas and all that other stuff, but we actually like clicked up when we started Chapter 11 for Shyrock.
Okay.
We became really tight, both crews, you know.
Nice. Yeah, that's man, you know, like as you talk, I'm thinking, you know, what it was like back then, you know, and you know, we had so many good memories, you know, of all the meetings that we had and the events that we had, and we would come in clusters.
Yes.
You know?
I remember getting off the bus and there'd be like 15 of us getting off, and at the beginning, none of us knew who was the other, you know?
Right.
But then when we got off, it was just like we all went to the Terradome, you know, and it was like, oh, you're here for the Shyrock meeting. Where? What you write? And then, you know, or what's your name? And, oh, I don't write. I'm a photographer, or I'm a skater, or I'm a breakdancer, I'm a DJ, I'm a rapper. You know, and we were just all hanging out, you know. It wasn't about you weren't doing what I was doing, you know, because to us, it was we were all doing the same thing. It was all hip hop, you know what I mean?
Right.
So.
Right. Yeah, you know, and I think that's the beauty behind Chicago specifically. You know, I mean, we're not like any other city. We have similarities, but we have very a array of uniqueness to what we've done and how we've done it here in Chicago. And you know, and I know that obviously all of us were influenced by, you know, the revolution that blew up in New York. You know what I'm saying? In surrounding areas of New York. But you know, still to this, you know, to a major degree, Chicago still had its own flavor, its own style, its own fingerprint, so to speak.
Yeah, I always like to joke ever since I've been doing, you know, when I had my studio and my radio shows and all that stuff. When people would ask me about Chicago, I would always call Chicago like the Galapagos Island.
Okay.
Imagine you have this like force field that was put over Chicago in the 80s, and the rest of the world kind of evolved and they went on and do their thing, and we kept it real. And like our breakers were always more advanced and more aggressive, and our DJs were just the top of the line, and it was just like we had the best of everything because we honed in on our skill of hip hop when the rest of the world was moving on to other genres, you know?
Yes.
And then when they kind of circled back around to the hip hop that we were doing, you know, now they call it backpack hip hop. We were ready, you know, it was kind of like the gates open and we were just like, whoosh, and flooded out, you know? But yeah, I mean, just like the clean train era, I mean, there was most of the cities in the world stopped painting, except Europe. Like we can't really talk about Europe, but like in the US, most cities like New York stopped painting their trains because they were done with it. You know, there was only a handful of little tiny amounts of people painting them. But in Chicago, we were just constantly painting them, like always. It was like nonstop through the 90s, most of the 2000s. That's why when most of the crews that came from Chicago went global, and they unleashed us to the world, we were painting their trains. It was just like nothing to us, you know, because we already had that, you know, we were prepared. It was like, you know, like you're getting ready for war, and then the war finally comes and you're ready. And that's how we were, you know. Chicago's always been like that. So yeah.
Okay, well, we're gonna take a quick commercial break, but before we do, I'd like to just send a shout out to some of the people that have tuned in and made a few comments. We got the legendary Trickster One checking in. He said, "Peace, y'all." We got Taco Bops checking in, you know, salute to Taco. And we got old school Dean 4 checking in. He say, Dean loves y'all. He loves everyone. And shout out to my homeboy, Mr. RYC Live himself. You know, always showing support. You know what I'm saying? So peace out to the entire RYC Live family and our team. And so with that being said, once again, you are watching the RYC Live show tonight. This is Throwback Thursday, and we have Mr. Teel 1 on the set with us at this moment. So we're going to take a quick commercial break, and when we come back, we'll pick up where we left off.
Once more, my style. Fight me. We came here to battle.
Bruce Lee in the mix, right here, RYC Live. Tell me, I did not just beat him.
You're pretty good.
Welcome back to the RYC Live Show, everyone. This is Artistic checking in, and we're back with my homeboy, Mr. Teel One, representing in the house. Yeah.
What's
So,
up, everybody?
yeah. So, hey, I'm glad we're having this conversation because it really kind of solidifies that we do have a history. In fact, I kind of get upset sometimes when people overlook Chicago and what Chicago has done over the many years that we've been doing what we've been doing, just like most other cities. And I really think it is time for people to not just guess that things are happening, but know for a fact that things are happening just by, the proof.
Well, the question to you is, whose fault is that?
Well, I definitely would say it would be our own fault, because we haven't really done what we should have done a long time ago. When Subway Art came out back in 1984, that wasn't a book published by anybody from Chicago. You know what I'm saying? And then in 1987, when Spray Can Art came out again, another graffiti book that was like a Bible to most writers, still not published from Chicago. So we do have the blame, but I think now things are beginning to change in terms of the dynamics of what is being produced from Chicago.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We asked ourselves that question many times,
Mhm.
and we just got tired of saying the same thing. It's our fault, So we took it upon ourselves to start the process, and we think that there's a change in the air here now in Chicago, where we're feeling more of the energy and people working together. Maybe because a lot of the rivals are older now and they're actually working together and they've calmed down. Now we're kind of at that point where we can now take it to the next level, and actually work together as business people.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that we can actually accomplish it. I think I've proven that. So
yeah.
Hopefully we continue to prove it, because I really think that our rich culture this history needs to be told.
Yeah. Now let me ask you this, Teel. How would you define your definition of what writing, the art form of writing, means to you?
Okay. Well, that is a multi-layered onion question to me. It's like there's a lot of layers of, depending on when in my life you'd ask me that question,
Mm-hmm.
I'd have different answers. It's a similar answer, but they've changed. It's evolved.
Mm-hmm.
Because I've evolved and my art has evolved, and I believe that you should evolve. If not, you're going to stagnate and that old man complaining in the corner.
Well, not so for example, like years ago when we kind of first started, most people would your average writer would say, if you say, well, how would you define what writing means to you? People would be just like, hey, I just need to get up. Destroy, like they said on Star Wars, destroy all lines.
Yes. I still believe that, right? But It just depends on what question of what you're asking me. So, for example, if you're talking about just graffiti,
mm-hmm.
then you need to be out there paying your dues. You need to be getting your name up everywhere. If you want to be an all-city king, you need to be up everywhere and anywhere you need to be. If I look at a street pole, your name better be at the bottom of that street pole or in that garbage can. If I'm using the bathroom in the alley, you know what I mean? Like
mm-hmm.
that garbage can better have your name on it. Like if I go into a bathroom in a restaurant, like, you need to be up everywhere. Like an all city king, you have rooftops, you have trains inside, you have outsides. But now we go into the graffiti art aspect of it, right? It's two different things. A graffiti writer is like what I just explained, the guy who wants to get up and be famous,
mm-hmm.
With his name everywhere, right? The graffiti writer now is someone that is honed in on his skills. He's more proficient as far as doing his peace walls, permission walls. He gets paid for doing work, murals and stuff. His wild styles are very tight, very clean. He's got his multi-layered color schemes, the backgrounds and characters. He's just an all-around graffiti artist.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's the two different situations, that you're always going to have that battle. Then we have our distant cousin, our second removed cousin, which is the street artist. I mean, I don't know if you want to go into that, but we can if you want. But yeah, there's multi-layers, and then you have just the guys who have never done graffiti at all, and they got into painting murals. They use spray paint, and those are aerosol artists, or spray paint artists, whatever you want to call them. They're muralists. I don't hate on anybody's art. Back in the day, I might have said something to you now, but now it's, like I said, I've grown. I dabble in all of it. I can't be a hypocrite and tell you what you should be doing. It's everyone has their own opinion. We all have different ways of thinking. That's part of accepting each other. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But again, those are the two definitions of graph, right? We have graffiti, and then there's two forms of graph, because we've evolved. Back in the day, it was just one thing, and you did both. You were a graffiti artist and a graffiti writer, right? And you did both. On your time off, like imagine graph was your job. When you would take your break, you would go and do a wall, a permission wall, to practice, so that when you got up illegally on that rooftop, you did a burner and you just killed it, right? That's what originally it was. But it evolved into what it is now, So we have the graffiti writer, and then we have the graffiti writer. I mean, the graffiti artist and the graffiti writer.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay.
It's not the same.
Okay. Well, so the reason why I asked is because, and obviously times have changed. This is not the 80s anymore. Yeah. And, I always tell people when people interview me is when we were painting, we did most of our work illegally, and it was done in the middle of the night. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And so, and that's just what it was. We didn't really have a lot of permission and commission walls to do back when we first started, but then the whole movement was new anyway. So it was all about, like you say, getting up, at that time, and so, but today there are many more options. I mean, we didn't have the internet back then. No. Now we do. So, like you said, you can go do something as a practice session and just post it on your Instagram page or your Facebook page or whatever. And boom, you got people seeing your stuff, from all over the world.
Yep. if your hashtag game is good.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, that's just the way things are. I went through that whole when the internet, when the Instagram first started and people were doing that, I had a weird feeling about it at the beginning, but it was kind of like, I forget what the exact line that Bob Marley, I should know that quote already by now, but he, there's a song where he's talking about like how atomic energy and you can't really stop it. Mm-hmm. It's a sign of the times. It's the same situation. Like you can't stop it, dude. If the kids, if the kids take it that way, then if you want to stay relevant, you're just going to have to go with the flow. A lot of older heads have fallen off, just like when the graffiti buff came, right? A lot of the older heads stopped writing, and my generation was just like, yeah, right. That's not going to stop me.
Right,
and
right.
Keep going,
Right.
And there's a whole new generation now that they're dealing with cameras and facial recognition and all that other stuff, and they're just going on with it. So you just got to learn how to evolve. If you don't, you're just going to be that dinosaur that goes extinct. And people are just going to be like, yeah, you remember that dude? Yeah, he was that loudmouth guy always complaining about how nothing, is everything's, he hated everything,
Yeah.
I refuse to be that guy,
Okay.
I'm not a big fan of older people as it is. So it's like, my wife always tells me, she's like, you're going to be old one day. And I'm like, yeah, but there's always going to be somebody older. So
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
I'm going to keep it young as long as I can.
Right. Okay. So where would you like to see, like, what would you say your objective is for this art form and seeing it move forward into the future?
Well, what I've wanted to do, my idea, and I have a non-for-profit. It's called Momentum Art Tech Foundation. The reason why I started the foundation is because I want to take our art form and preserve it. You know, I want to teach it to the next generation. Like I already started teaching graph class with actually Tricksters working with me. We're teaching CPS kids from kindergarten to first grade. We're teaching them letter structures, you know, and it's like we're just trying to continue our genre, because again, if you don't evolve it, you know what I'm saying? It's not going to continue. Like it'll turn into something super weird, and you won't even recognize it anymore. You know what I'm saying? Perfect example, like the hot rodders, right? The old school hot rodders, they would take an old car from the 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, and they would mod it, and it would go crazy, and they would race them. Because the old hot rodders didn't really get along with the new kids. Now you have all these rice burners out there, these little Toyotas with the neon lights at the bottom. They don't communicate or talk to each other. It's just a job, race cars. You know what I mean? So I kind of look at things like that, and I'm like, if we don't take the bull by the horns and kind of start to like control the, you know, what a little bit of what's going to happen, we're going to lose it. You know, okay. So my idea is to teach it to the next generation, but take it to the next level. Show them how they can actually make money from it. You know what I mean? Because that's the reason why a lot of us stop writing, is because we get older and we have to pay bills. Now, imagine if you were able to pay bills with the skills that you did, learning on the things that we learned, right? So my dream is to be able to have, imagine all of us just having mad money coming in from galleries and working, designing and clothing and all the stuff that we do now, but on a grander scale. You know what I mean? So that is what my what I would love to see the art is, where we're actually living off of it. Because coming from a low middle class environment where we all come from, our families have always told us that being an artist is you're going to starve. You know, it's not a good thing. So go hone in on some, you know, craft. Go get a business degree. Go learn how to do this and that, instead of learning how to make money off art. You know, like how the majority, I don't want to mention their, you know, the skin color, but right. The majority, they don't tell that to their kids. You know, it's just our people that do that. You know, the brown people. You know, we tell our kids like, "Oh, you're gonna die. You're gonna be a heroin addict." You know, it's like, what? I'm an artist. What are you talking about? You know, it's like you're gonna die in the corner trying to paint someone's picture. It's like, no, that's not what only art is about.
Yeah,
thousands of jobs, of different kinds of jobs. You know, and that's part of what we teach the kids is like, being an artist is the guy who designed this shirt, you know, the guy who made your glasses, the guy who designed your hat, the guy who designed your headphones, like the guy who made the computer. All those things are artists, you know, they're designers of different kinds. The guy who made the car, the helicopter, et cetera, et cetera. You know, we just go on forever and ever. An architect is also an artist. So that's where I would want our genre to go more into an aspect where people take it more serious. You know, it's, yes, there's always going to be a vandal. There's always going to be people writing on stuff, but it's not going to be frowned upon as much. I mean, you go to Europe, dude, like I've been to Europe a bunch of times, and like you write on something and they don't say anything to you. They just don't care.
Yeah.
They look at it like, oh, it's just a stupid kid, or, oh, that's just a dumb man. It doesn't bother them the way it bothers us here. You know what I mean? So I think that once we start to evolve and we learn that doesn't harm you in any way, like to mind your own business, basically, and let them do what they're going to do, it's not going to harm you in any way either. You know what I mean? Just let it be. Because I talk about this 100 times, like, and to my face turns blue. Like, we actually create jobs. People look at me and they're like, "What? You're weird. Why would you say that?" And like, no, man. Look, think about it like this. Let's break it down into the industries, right? Who created the roller paint, the roller tee, the store that sells those products? Think about all those people that make those products, right? That I just mentioned. Now we're talking about the Home Depots, all those other stores, right? The Menards and the Lowe's. Those people are also the jobs that they're selling paint. They need to. Those industries are making money because they need to buy paint to roll over the stuff we did. Now you're paying a professional painter to go out with his professional crew in his truck that needs gas, tires, blah, 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 right? We can just break it down into all these different things and numbers.
Right.
It's $1 million industry. Like, why would you try to stop it? It's crazy.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's just the way I look at it. It's like, hey, man, let the kid write on the stuff, man. Someone's going to paint over it. Let that guy feed his family and the other guy's having fun. Who's getting hurt?
Yeah.
You know, that's how I see it. I'm sorry. Maybe people are going to disagree with me, and later I'll probably see all the comments and people, saying bad things, but that's how I see it, man. It doesn't hurt anybody. It makes, as long as it makes money, right? It makes sense. Okay.
We got one comment came in from your homeboy. I'm gonna post it up right now.
Okay.
Mr. Crumb one TMS crew MUL H2O. Much
there
love
he
to
is.
one.
See? There you go. See, I wasn't lying. That's the homie right there. Don't forget, he forgot Wicked Vandals.
Okay. Yeah. So, but yeah, it's interesting how, we had this discussion when we were painting trains back in the day. It was always frowned upon, especially Chicago. Chicago was not only known for doing trains, but we were also known for doing rooftops. And so, but now, fast forward years later, now all of a sudden you see a whole train wrapped in graphics inside and out.
That was copied from us.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course. But it was frowned upon when we was doing
it. Yes. Like, again, I said, right? If it don't make money, it don't make sense. So now that they see that they can make money off of it,
right,
it's not frowned upon anymore, right?
Yeah.
When you look at my homie Pose, he got paid by Adidas to do that rap train, and it had graph on it. How is that okay?
Right.
Right? Why? Because some big company paid for it. So it's okay.
It's okay.
And that has to do with the changing of the guard. You know what I mean? The people that are holding the money now are our generation. It's not the baby boomers that are parents that hated on everything, and they would always like frown upon everything. And it's like, okay, well, they're not around no more because they retired. Now they left us in charge. Guess what? We got graph on trains now,
Oh, we got another comment coming in. Joshua said, just paint. It's just paint. It's just paint.
Yeah, it is. It's true.
Yeah. So it is interesting, and it is one of those educational things too that people basically got to get conditioned. And I kind of look at all the elements like that. I mean, they said rap was a fad. They said breaking wasn't a real dance form, and so, all of the elements pretty much, are equivalent in terms of how they've been looked upon, whereas now rap is now a multi-billion-dollar industry, right? I mean, and look, and graph, it's just like, it's an industry that's totally almost turned to 360 in terms of being respected now.
Well, yeah.
Like I tell some of these guys, I said there was no such thing as a company that was producing paint specifically for graffiti writers when we were coming up.
No.
But today that has changed.
Yeah. And it's the quality of the paint is like, it blows my mind. Like it's it's amazing. You know what I mean? And I walk into my store and I get happy to be there because that's my happy place, right? And I just enjoy to see how creative, even with the products we are. You know what I mean? Because there's people that create like they create the nozzles, they create the adapters for the Rust-Oleum. You know, all that is created by writers. You know, a lot of people are like, oh, that's some dude. That's all us. Like we're all the same way that we figure out how to get to that rooftop. We figure out how to make a tool to help us create what we're going to create. So when people are like, oh yeah, you know, who made that scriber? A writer. You know, most of the stuff that we carry is all done by graffiti artists, you know, and that's what I love because it's we're creating an industry, you know, that again, it has to do with art, you know, like just like how the other artists, you know, when they created their brushes and all, you know, all the easels and stuff, when people were painting canvases with oil and acrylics, it's the same thing with our industry.
So Teel, let's talk a little bit about the industry behind the supplies that we carry, you know, in terms of one being a graffiti writer or graffiti artist. I mean, back in the days, we went to stores like the Flax, Bruno's, Sheldon's. You know, these were stores that we would go. Genesis, you know, Northwestern. You know, these were stores that carried our tools of the trade, so to speak. You know what I'm saying? And they even had spray paint also too, you know. But tell us how the transition for you specifically came into becoming a reality of owning a paint store.
So I'm not going to take credit saying that I was the first one and none of that because there was a few before me. The only difference, what I did different was that I'm really good at looking at people and seeing the mistakes that they made. You know what I mean? And they might not have seen them as mistakes. They were just life choices. I see them as mistakes or maybe opportunities in my eyes. They were very brand loyal. And I noticed that about our city, that we're very brand loyal. Like, I don't know if you remember back in the day, like the 80s, people were wearing only Puma. You caught another dude wearing Adidas, it was beef. Or if there was a guy wearing Nike and he ran into a guy wearing Adidas, you know, it was like game over. You know what I mean? Like there was always some sort of situation between clothing or brands of some sort or the other. I mean, I know people that got, you know, tattoos of, you know, Nike on their arm. You know what I mean? It's like, are you serious? It's a company, bro. But anyways, I'm going off track. So what I did was I saw that as a kind of like a downfall, and I reached out to a few companies. And at first they weren't really digging it. You know, they were kind of used to that brand loyalty stuff. And I was like, look, I want to be like a big box store. You know what I mean? Like you can't tell Best Buy they can't carry all the brands. You know what I mean? Like Best Buy's going to buy whatever they want, sell whatever they want. Like unless you write a contract with them and you pay them to be exclusive, they're not going to be exclusive, right? So why would I be exclusive? So that's what I've done. Like I brought in as many brands of paint into the city that I can. And I positioned myself in a part of the outskirts of the city where I'm not, you know, breaking any of the laws, but I'm still able to serve my community. And when I say my community, I'm talking about writers and hip hoppers. You know, I'm not talking about any, you know, demographic or minority or anything like that, right? Like my people are hip hop. Like that's what I am. You know what I mean? I'm not, even though I was born Cuban Mexican, to me, I'm hip hop. Like that's my nationality. You know, like I kind of act that way to people. So when I'm trying to make sure that my community had paint, we saw that there was a location that was already in that area that this other guy had, that he had a Montana store in. But because he had to close it down for personal reasons, we waited a few years before we opened up our shop. But we were selling pretty much on the streets and stuff out of their trunk and meeting people in corners and stuff. It was like if we were doing bad things, but we were just selling paint. just wanted to make sure that that we didn't suffer, that our art didn't suffer from not having the supplies that we needed. That was my main goal.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like I wanted to make sure that people had, because if you follow me from the beginning, like we've been doing this since 2008, like legally, like corporation, everything in 2008 we started. And we always kept our paint prices super low. Like even today, I've gone to New York, cans are like $8-9 a can. Went to a few other places, and the paint is just like enormously expensive, And we're trying to keep it as low as possible, but to try to keep the doors open as well, you know what I mean? Because we have to make money to pay the bills.
Yeah.
So we try to make people understand that, like, look, because we get the complainers all the time, like, oh man, it's $5.75 a can. Like, bro, it's like $8-9 in New York. Yeah, but we're not in New York. I hear you. It's like, I mean, just if you really want paint that bad, go rack it. Like, I don't know what to tell you. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's interesting. I mentioned to you before we went live about an old issue of the Chicago Rocks magazine. And for all of you viewers out there who may know or don't know, we used to publish a magazine called Chicago Rocks back in the 90s. And this is actually an issue from March of 1994, all hand drawn. We worked with a lot of different artists, but what was so noteworthy, right in here on page 16, Teel, do you remember this?
Yes, actually I do.
Hold on, let me see if I can get it in the camera there. There we go. So here is an advertisement of caps. Let me see. There we go.
Yeah, right there.
Caps, right there. Different caps that was sold by Mr. Teel One himself.
Yes.
Now this is 1994.
94, yes. Previous to that issue, we were selling caps for a long time. Like I think I've been selling caps since like 92, 93.
Okay.
That actually is still my main bread and butter, like selling caps.
Okay.
People actually don't know that. Like I try to, sometimes I kind of like tell people, but they're like, that guy's crazy.
Yeah.
Man, I've been selling caps for since 92, 93. I mean, that's a long time. That's almost 30 years.
Yeah.
So people are like, oh yeah, Teel a lot of people, there's rumors out there that I'm a drug king and I'm funneling my money through the company and like, whatever, it's like, I've been doing this for a long time. It's like, it takes, just like I tell my kids and people that I teach and all that stuff, and like my shorties that I'm, trying to like mentor, I tell them, man, you have to start what you believe that you're going to do or you feel like you want to do. Start it now so that, if you still love to do it, you just keep doing it year after year after year. Next thing you know, you're going to wake up one day and you'll be like, wow, I've been doing this for 25 years and you're still doing what you love, And it's just something that I kind of fell into. I was selling, I think in that ad I was selling kneecaps, fat caps. We didn't call them NY fats back then.
Right.
And Rusto fats. And the funny thing about that ad is that I had a voicemail box. A lot of people don't know about the boxes. Like that's probably like a whole nother, like we could do a whole TV show on that. Because it's like, people don't know. You tell people like, yeah, the boxes. Remember all the box wars we had back in the day? And they're thinking that you're talking about a cardboard box or something. Like they don't understand that we used to hack into these voicemail boxes and we would turn them into our personal phone numbers and we would hand them out, like if we owned them.
Yeah. And
we would leave, hey, what's up? This is Teel. Leave your name and your number and I'll call you right back. And let me know what kind of caps you want and how many. And then they would leave their number. I call them back. Now if you think about it, it's a lot of work, right? Because you got to go listen to the voicemail, write it down, call them back. Yo, what's up? You called me? yeah, man, let me get 100 of those fat caps. Cool, man. Meet me at such and such spot, you know, and then they got to give you I think it was like, if I'm not wrong, it was $10 for 100 pack. Is that what it says in the ad?
Let me check it real quick.
I think that's what it was, if my memory's not wrong.
Yeah, 100 pack. Well, let's see. It's got 100 pack. Well, the New York fat caps on here was 100 pack for $11.
$11. Okay.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I must have taxed them. Hey, for the Shyrock ad, I had to pay for. Yeah. So yeah, man. You know, it's been a long time. You know, that's what we've been. I'm a lifer. You know, I'm in this for life.
Yeah.
I'm already 46, bro. Like,
wow.
I'm old.
Wow.
You know, the grays are starting just to come in now.
Yeah.
I'm starting to notice some little by little. So
yeah. Welcome to the family.
Right? Yeah. I still feel like I'm 12.
Yeah. Well, listen, what we're going to do is we're going to take another commercial break. And when we come back, we're going to start to talk a little bit about your current project with your documentary.
Okay.
So everybody stay tuned. Don't go nowhere. We'll be right back. RYC Live, rep your city. I'm Artistic, your host for the Throwback Thursdays, every Thursday at 8 p.m. right here live, bringing you the hip hop from the past to the present, covering the full scope of the elements.
It's time for us to go live, so rep your city. I really would appreciate if y'all roll with me.
If you would like to be a guest on the show, please send us an email to ryclive@yahoo.com and send us a brief description of why you'd like to be on the show. Also, take a moment to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Welcome back to the RYC Live show. I am Artistic, your host for tonight. And on the set, we have the one and only Mr. Teel 1. Yes, sir. So let's get down to it, man. I remember back in the 90s too, actually it started in the late 80s, but it kicked off in the 90s. But there was a video production crew from New York that was producing graffiti tapes called Videograph.
Yeah.
And you know, they were very inspiring to many writers around, especially here in America. And you know, it was just intriguing to see some of the action-packed, you know, pieces of footage that was in these tapes that was circulating, you know, and being sold, you know, and they came out with quite a series of them, you know, and it kind of sparked others to kind of come out with video cameras and kind of do the same. And so you came out with one called Chicago's Very Own.
Yes, sir.
And you tell the viewers a little bit about
two versions of them.
Okay. Can you tell the viewers a little bit about that?
Yeah. So me being a Chicago head, watching Videograph in my my cousin's, you know, house, we would get a video of it, either bootleg or we mail off to get an original. We noticed that there was a trend of like Chicago not getting its shine, you know, kind of like what we talked about earlier. And it was that feeling of like not being repped, you know? So I asked my uncle, I was like, hey, let me borrow your video camera. And he was like, yeah, don't lose it. And I was like, whatever. So, you know, just, it was like this missile launcher. It was like this big thing, and you would put these VHS tapes in there. And we'd walk around, and we were just, you know, goofy little kids. We were, I was like, what, 16, 17 years old probably. And we were videotaping ourselves breakdancing. We were, you know, hanging out at the crib with the crew, you know, when we first started forming. And then I just was like out there filming everything, you know, all the peace walls. I got people bombing, you know, we would go to the train stations to catch, you know, whatever tags were on the stations. But before that, I met this teacher. I had two teachers in high school that were probably the ones that geared me to the way I'm at right now. One of those was this art teacher that I had from Morton East. His name was Mr. Salerno. He actually, like, he told me, he's like, hey, this graffiti thing that you're doing, you could put it on canvas, you know, you can hone your skills in, you know, make this better. So he actually took it to a whole nother level. Like, he would teach me how to cut the wood, make my own frames, stretch the canvas, you know, staple it, you know, do the edges, prime it, prep it, paint it, you know, the step by step, like the actual way of doing that. So he kind of kept me focused with that, you know, and then I started doing a lot of canvases. And then he had a best friend that worked in the school. His name was Mr. Clark. Now, they were both hippies. So Mr. Clark was a bigger hippie than he was. And, you know, you'd smell you know, he had a little bit of that, you know, ganja smell on him because he was a hippie, you know, so he was a super cool teacher.
Okay.
And he saw what we were doing with the graffiti art. And he told, you know, he saw some of my videos and he was like, hey, why don't you do a movie? I was like, well, that's what I wanted to do, but I don't know how to do that. And he's like, well, you know that I run the video class. And I was like, oh, cool. So he took me up to the video class, you know, me and my brother and some of my crewmates. And it was like this massive room, and there was like all this editing machines. This is before the computer was, you know, when anybody was editing on computer yet. Later, we brought the computers into the school, and I was actually the one who set them up, and I was able to edit on the computer. I was one of the first kids that used it, so I kind of got into that whole tech thing as well then. Mm-hmm. And it was before that. I was editing tape to tape. So it was kind of like the old school, like, you know, and you were like, right, and then cut. And then you put it into another tape and then bring in the next tape. So you were kind of chopping it up, and then you had to put your dissolves and all that. Anyways, I'm going off again the track. So yeah, because I get really into the things I was doing. I put out that first tape. It was called Chicago's Very Own Channel 3. Now, for all the youngins out there, Channel 3 back in the day was the channel that we used to connect our Nintendos or Ataris, because it was a blank channel. There was nothing on it. So when you turned on Channel 3, it was fuzz. Mm-hmm. So you connected to the back of your TV, and then you had your wires, you know, and you didn't even get to connect it like plug in. It was like screws.
Right.
You know? And then you connect your, so the reason why I called it Channel 3 is because that's how I felt that we were kind of like that we were like invisible to society. You know what I mean? It was kind of like this like weird way of me thinking, like you had to look past the curtain, past the fuzz to get to what we were, you know, the Chicago's very own graffiti channel. So it was kind of creative, I guess, as you know, for a kid. And then I did my best, and I think I did pretty good as far as documenting all of Chicago. Like I wasn't like biased, you know, I was like, oh, that guy, I don't like him. Like, no, I still recorded it. I put it on the thing because I felt that it was part of our history and it needed to be captured. I didn't want to do what Videograph was doing, at least in my eyes. Later on, I met Nick and we talked about it, and he explained to me why they were doing what they were doing, and he has a whole different thinking. It had nothing to do with cutting us out or anything like that. It was just that we weren't in his circle per se, because he was more out there in New York, you know,
Right.
Philly and all that area. That's why so many of those writers came out.
Right.
Which is understandable because I didn't put anybody in New York on my tape.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It was regional.
Yeah.
So so the video, the first one I did that, and then the second one I did another second video, which I still can't find. I'm still looking for it. I put an Instagram out there hoping that somebody would say, hell yeah, I got a copy right here. You know, I'll let you digitize it, but no one has surfaced yet. That's all she wrote. Yeah.
Yeah, interesting. So that's a piece of our history, you know, when it comes to artifacts, you know. So for those that don't know, now you know. So let's talk about moving forward into this new project now that obviously once this is done, it's not going to be hard to get, you know what I'm saying? It's not going to be like what it was before because we have so many other tools to work with in technology and the internet and all that other good stuff today. Talk about the new project.
So the new project is kind of, again, right? Like it's all the years of things, you know, they kind of accumulate. The new project is it was called It Was Written. We have a website. It was written, themovie.com. And what we're doing is we're documenting the story of Chicago graffiti, right? So we're trying to make sure that a lot of our story is not overlooked or forgotten, because what ends up happening, and we've seen it already, I mean, there's like massive writers dying left and right, and we're losing their stories, losing their pictures, we're losing their videos, we're losing their actual likeness, right? Because a lot of them weren't videotaped because they died. Mm-hmm. So we don't have anybody to remember, to look at their, you know, their video and remember them. So it's part of also, you know, making sure that we're not getting who our elders were, you know. And like I said in the video, you know, there's like a little snippet video that we put out. By allowing everybody to tell their story, I'm telling my story. You know what I mean? Because your story is my story, and that's history, right? Yeah. So if we don't capture our own history, no one else is going to do it. And somebody else does, not going to do it the way we do it, because it's not done by an insider. You know, a lot of times what happens is the outsiders come in and they tell our story the way we don't like it. You know, it's like, oh man, this guy's, you know, talking about things that aren't true, or, you know, there's no one there to check the reality of the situation. They're just like going by whatever that person said, you know? So we just want to try to do our best to try to make sure that we get those people's, everybody's story that we can, you know? And again, we only have a certain amount of time in the movie, so I can't tell the entire, I don't know how long Graph has been. I mean, the more I dig, the more farther back I keep seeing that Graph is gone in Chicago. And I'm probably going to end up missing some people, either because they're dead or they just weren't available to me. But we're trying to do our best to try to get as many of them in the movie as possible. So even if we don't use it, I want to capture it to have it, because there are future projects that we're working on that they can be used for. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah. Talk about a little bit about you recently had a campaign to raise funds for the project, and what were some of the incentives to, pledging money for the campaign?
So we did a Kickstarter, which I'm going to be totally honest with you. Coming from Chicago, I was very skeptical about the whole situation. I said, this is not going to work. I wanted to go the corporate route. I was just like my art, sell out. And, I was just like, whatever. But okay. And, the Josh, the director, and my brother, C3PO, and then my other partner, UN, this was 4. They were like, you know what, just shut up and we're going to do it. And I'm like, all right. So the incentives were, there's a t-shirt that we have that says graffiti blasters on it. There you go. And there was some postcards and stickers that we were giving out for that. Right. And then there was also a poster, a movie poster that we put out.
Nice.
And then the movie poster is like, it's a pretty big poster. It's really high quality. Then we had some prints that UN did that were printed on some special paper, just they're very collectible. I did some canvases and C3PO did some prints. And with that, we ended up raising more than what we were asking for, which I was like, wow. Like I was in total shock. Chicago always, does this to me. It changes my mind. I was extremely grateful. I was like, wow, again, it made me feel that there's a turning point happening. You know what I mean? It wasn't only people in Chicago donating, but because they donated to the project that has something to do with Chicago, it made me feel that we were on the right track. You know what I mean? Because it really meant a lot to me. Like, it's unbelievable the amount of money we didn't raise like millions of dollars or anything, but we did raise a lot. We raised way more than we were supposed to. It was on the Kickstarter, so I'm going to say it. We wanted 10 and we raised 16,000.
And I think that was excellent.
It was. Again, I'm very grateful for everybody in Chicago. I got very sentimental. I almost got teary-eyed. It was like amazing. It was the greatest feeling ever. I was just like, because I'm usually that. You do something great for people and you get kicked down like a dog, like a street dog always. That's how Chicago does you, to make you stronger. But it still hurts your feelings, right? You're human. So you're like, damn it, again. But you keep trying, So finally it happened, and I was excited and I was grateful, and I want to thank everybody. If there's anybody that donated that's watching, I want to thank you guys. And anybody that's on the team that saw this, we were working very hard, and I want to thank everybody that's on the team as well that helped out. So it was a great time. It was a good thing that happened.
That's what's up. So what we're going to do right now, for all those that's tuned in and watching and listening, we're going to play a quick little audio clip that was put together by Teel's team, just to kind of give you a little idea of what to expect for the documentary that's coming out. So let's do this.
PD squad pulls up from both sides, like puts us up against the wall, searches us, and they arrested all of us, and we all went to jail.
So how much do you think CTA spends annually on graffiti control, cleanup?
Somewhere between 17 and 20 million. Trains were getting bombed. Buses were getting bombed.
I knew that this thing was out of their control.
The entire city was literally covered. Every train station, every rooftop, every wall, every bus, it was writing everywhere.
So the CTA was getting killed.
Graffiti is a crime. It's not art. It's not a game. It's a selfish, stupid, destructive crime. And we take it very seriously here in the city of Chicago.
Little kids. We're 12, 13, 14, 15. And we're doing this. We're doing this at a very early age.
You wanted to hit things along the CTA because you could ride the train and see your stuff. It was like That was an amazing feeling.
Graffiti to me is like power. It gives you power.
And I see those letters on the wall, and I see that movement and the colors and the vibrancy, and it looks like it's coming off the wall. I almost feel like I'm creating life.
That was an escape for a lot of young artists at the time. Allowed me to see things on a broader scale. A lot of these conditions were affecting us as young kids. There was something that was missing.
The huge all-city buff came. It started in '96, and they completely buffed all the train lines.
You come by one time on a train, and the whole roof is brown. And it's just like, oh my gosh, you guys know what you just did. You just wiped out history. And you took something that was beautiful, and you made it just brown and plain.
More than a dozen people were arrested in the Chicago police sting. The use of cameras is the latest development in the fight against graffiti.
A fellow by the name of Lieutenant Bob Angon from the Chicago Police Department, who's been chasing these young men for years because they were bombing our stations.
The punitive laws of graffiti becoming a felony, spray paint becoming illegal to buy in the city, it discouraged a lot of creativity. It discouraged all this interaction between peoples of different races.
Basically, the wall is basically says it all right here. Freedom of speech.
Graffiti will never die. As long as I'm around, I'm gonna do top to bottom all day, every week if I have to.
All right, check it out, Doc. If you can get up any one place in the world, where would it be?
Oh, for sure it'd be Chicago Transit Authority trains, without a doubt. That's what I live, breathe, and that's what I died for. You know what I'm saying?
PD squad pulls out.
Yeah, so yes. Let's see here. Yeah, that was excellent. I wish I could have shared the video portion of it for everyone to see, but at least that gave everyone a little idea of what to kind of expect. Nicely put together, you know what I'm saying? For the upcoming project. It was written. Obviously, we're going to be sharing some history from some of Chicago's legends, and the things that was done here in Chicago over the years with photographs and footage. Speaking of which, we actually had the CTA competition back in the 90s, and I kind of forgot to bring that up during our discussion, but I know you was a part of that, Teel, and I was a part of it, and numerous other writers and crews in Chicago was a part of it. And I actually thought, I know some people were apprehensive about being a part of that project back in the 90s, but I actually thought it was a good idea myself, because it did give artists a platform to be able to express themselves without worrying about getting in any kind of trouble.
Right.
It
actually was another turning point. If you really sit back now that you're older and you look at times where we talk about the evolution, right? That CTA competition actually was it turned up the volume on the graph where a lot of crews were able to do things and get attention that they would have never gotten before. People were going to the Art Institute because they won the competition.
Mm-hmm.
We were getting free paint, free walls, free expression. And that is what I believe gave us all the driving factor to get more walls and do more events and hang out with each other. It was, I think it was a cool situation. A lot of people probably still to this day don't feel like it was a cool thing. And
mm-hmm.
I felt that it was. And
yeah.
A lot of positive things came out from the CTA competition, for me at least.
Mm-hmm.
One of them is, when I started my crew. So, I can't really say too much that bad things came from that for me. At least, even the CTA competition party that they had where they hung all our pictures in the gallery, it was it made you feel like you were doing something that was positive. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So
yeah.
I think it was cool.
Yeah, definitely. I agree. And for those that missed it, you know, you definitely missed a part of history here in Chicago. You know, I think it was definitely a good experience for all of us because it definitely gave all of us some exposure. And we painted the entire city.
Yes.
You know, it was beautiful productions done, you know, and I liked it how we were able to go to different sites to see what the other writers were doing.
They gave us that bus pass. Remember, we were able to get in and out of the CTA how we wanted.
Yeah,
it was like we would get on the buses. We were getting all over the city. It was free. Nobody cared. It was like, oh, I got a free bus pass all over. Like, oh, that was awesome. You know.
Not to mention you got paint.
Yeah. I had never seen so much paint in my life back then. Like that was like you're talking about pallets. I mean, this is I was still a kid back then. I mean, now I see pallets of paint all the time, right? Like,
right.
But like. The CTA competition, they brought in pallets of Krylon, and they unwrapped it in front of us. It was like, what? It's like, how many cans you supposed to get? I was like, I don't know, 10. They're like, oh, here's 10 boxes. Oh, like, what? It was crazy, and then we're all like trading colors. Like, oh, they gave me all red, bro. Give me a couple blues. We're trading and stuff. It was fun, bro. I had a lot of fun then,
Yeah.
I think it was an awesome. Every CTA competition that I was in, was a positive situation. Other than my brother getting in trouble every year for that, but because it was on his birthday, and he was out painting with me at the CTA competition, so he'd get in trouble for being MIA on his birthday.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so my dad would yell at him every year for that.
Shout out to my boy.
Yeah, C3.
Hey, Teel, can you talk a little bit about this other, and it's in connection, obviously, with what you're doing, too, with your store and with the documentary, but another event that's going on in Chicago every year?
A meeting of style.
Yes.
Yeah, so the meeting of style was, I believe, don't quote me, I might be wrong. It was started, I don't want to even say the city, I want to say Europe. It started over in Europe. And it trickled its way to the U.S. The homies Nike and Zor and Demon and all those guys, they got their hands on it here in Chicago, and then they started the event. So the way the event, and Raven, because the first year I remember Raven reached out to me, like invited me out. So I remember Raven was part of that as well. The first year I remember they had this map, and they were this way. So they had a bunch of walls on the map, and it was like one straight shot, in the map. That's how I remember it. And that's how they started the event, and they were supposed to keep going like that. And then what they did was they started, they focused in on certain areas and certain walls. And if you weren't invited to the main event, then people went and painted their own walls. So it became kind of like in our Basel situation where the main event happens in one area and then everybody takes part in it, but unofficially, right? So you have all these massive walls being painted the exact same day unofficially, and galleries that are going on unofficially that are not part of the MOS, the style. But the actual meetings of style event, that says it on the flyer, and then it says it where the main gallery is going to be. So that's where everything, the people that are invited and the people that are part of it are actually painting on that wall. And then the unofficial ones, I like to go to everything because it's fun. The unofficial ones are as flame and cool as the main event, So
yeah.
Sometimes it's even more fun because they don't have to. They're not restricted, so they do whatever they want. It's just like it's kind of cool. You go there and there's like this barbecue party going on another wall, and you're like, oh, we're gonna go over there. They're giving away hot dogs. So, it's a cool event. They've been doing it for a long time. I think probably over 10 years.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Because I didn't find out about it until a couple of years after it had came to Chicago.
Right.
And I was like, wow. And just going to it was just a really, really nice experience. You know, yeah, you know, and I was like, wow, this is definitely an event that should continue because it's just a good thing to see a whole community of artists coming out again, where we don't have to have any worries and we can just paint freely and be creative on the walls.
But the difference is that this time it was run by us.
Yeah.
So we patrolled it, we policed it, we took care of it. It was all on us, right? So it's a little different. Like it's more of an artist-run situation. So I think the MOS is to me it's more artistic, you know, than the CTA.
Yeah.
Because the CTA, you were, you know, they told you couldn't do certain things because it's on their property.
Right.
You know, violence, no guns, no sex, no politics, right? And the MOS, they don't care. They just like, hey, just do a burner. I want to see something dope, you know? So it's, you know, and then I do my event as well that I do with my homie Pet, Oski from TCK, or Decepticons, my bad. He also owns B-Tech. We do Battle for the City.
Yeah.
And that event is pretty big because we give away a cash prize. Last time was I think it was like $6,000. It was 3 in paint, 3 in cash. And because of COVID, we had to stop the 1 year. So this year is going to be more. So hopefully we can, if we raise the money, we're trying to give away like hopefully a larger amount of money. I don't want to say the amount because things are still in the works, you know, but it's going to be more than what it was last year.
Okay. Now I had one more thing I wanted you to highlight a little bit, and that was the gallery scene. We talked about the NFT earlier, and also too, I know back in the 90s, I was able to attend one of your events called the Permanent Record for the 90s.
Oh yeah. That was actually in the 2000s.
Oh yeah. Oh, right. But it was a 90s edition.
Yeah, the 90s edition, right.
Yeah.
So friends of mine, B-Boy B and Flash, their original ABC crew, they started this thing called Permanent Record, which I was actually originally was part of the original Permanent Record, the 80s edition. I gave them cans and caps and markers and stuff from the 80s that they put in the events. And B-Boy B had come to me and so did Flash. Yeah, that's the flyer we did. They told me that they wanted to do a 90s edition and they wanted me to run it. And that the University of Chicago was part of it. So I was like, okay. And so they gave us, you know, some money. They gave us the location, and then I just brought all the goods, right? So I brought out all the 90s stuff. I had beepers and cell phones and TVs and MPCs and keyboards and DJ equipment, the old Them Dare flyers, the old Shyrock flyers. I had markers, homemades. It was everything that, you know, the only thing that I was missing was the clothing because I couldn't get it. Like it was, I mean, who has 90 clothes still and, you know, laying around? And if you do, you're sitting on a gold mine. Just let me know.
Right.
Because there's kids out there that are paying thousands of dollars for our clothes now, which is crazy to me. I wish I would have held on to all of them. You know? But yeah, there's it was fun, man. The event that we did, we had a lot of fun. I had a DJ PNS come out, and he spun at the location, which is crazy because, you know, he doesn't spin at parties anymore, you know. But that's another funny situation where a lot of people don't know that I actually brought PNS out into the world. Like he was DJing out of his bedroom when I met him.
Wow.
And one of my homies from H2O crew, Wisdom, he's like, hey, you know, there's this guy, I forget what crew PNS, I think he was CGT or something.
Okay.
He was like, yeah, this is a guy, PNS, Penis. He actually wrote Penis.
I remember that.
Yeah, he goes, yeah, there's this guy, some crazy dude who writes Penis. he DJs, and I was down a man, right? I needed a DJ, so I was like, oh, let me go meet up with him. So we went over to his crib. He lived over on Grand and I want to say Cicero or something. Now, granted, we're coming from Lane, right? Lane and Gord Tech and San and all that area, like the north side. Where he lived to us was the south side, right? Because that was like Cicero and Grand. That was far on bus because there's no trains that go out there.
Right.
So we were like on the bus for like a good hour, maybe 2 hours. And when we got to this dude's house, we had to walk up this huge, it was like crazy to get up to his house because you had to go around the back. And then there was like this fire escape made out of wooden stairs that you had to go up, and then you go into his crib, and then you had to go through this long, it was crazy. So I get into his room, and he's like scratching it up or whatever, and his name was DJ Atomic back then. Wow. And I was like, oh, what's up, man, this and that. Anyways, when the flyer came out, I forgot what the hell his DJ name was. I met him once, you know what I mean? Like DJ Atomic. I mean, that it didn't sound right anyways, like whatever. So I put DJ Penis. Man, this dude had a fit. He's like, you're going to get me racked. People are going to come for me. The cops. I'm like, dude, chill out. Ain't nobody coming for you. That's all she wrote, man. He started DJing with me. We did tons of parties together. We actually started a party crew it was a DJ crew called Daisy Tribe. Like De La Soul and Tribe Called Quest, you know, because their record Daisy, De La Soul is Dead. They had that Daisy pot on there, so we call it Daisy Tribe because we were like hip hop, underground, whatever you want to call us. And we had a lot of fun, you know. And later years on, he went and joined Shyrock and met the Mole Men, and you know he became. So he had to change his name because of. Jeru the Damager. Okay. He was DJing with him on stage, and Jeru was like, bro, there's no way I'm going to call you DJ Penis. Like, that's just, there's no way. So he changed his name. He's like, I'm going to call you PNS. Yeah. And Penis was like, whatever, bro. I don't care, you know? Wow. So that was it. That's how he started calling himself PNS after that.
Wow. So you gave him his name.
I made him call himself DJ Penis, yeah.
Wow. Boy, I tell you, boy, Chicago history at its best.
Yeah, man. I digress, right? I went totally off the rails on that one, but that's how the stories go, right? Like you remember one thing and it goes off into another. I don't even know where we started that conversation.
Well, you know, it was I was questioning you about the galleries, and
that's right.
Yeah, so you say you were going to talk a little bit about the NFT.
Yeah, so I don't know if a lot of people out there, especially the hip hoppers, we're not really like, especially our generation, we're not really into the technology and all that stuff. But you guys need to study up on this with the whole like digital coin, you know, like the Bitcoin and the Ethereum and all the coins that are out there. You know, it's basically like you're buying stock into a technology company, but they're not on the stock market. You know, they're selling coin. So you're buying privately into their company. But right now, the reason why I brought up the NFT is because it's a whole new format for our industry, you know, and a lot of the websites right now are basically shut down because they don't have space because they're being overwhelmed by all this stuff. But an NFT can be anything. It could be a movie. There's people putting out songs and albums under the NFT. You know what I mean? So movies, you could put out. They're putting movies out now on NFT, and that's going to change the game for the movie industry because imagine, you know how we could stream stuff on Netflix and all that other stuff. You can now buy it on an NFT. You purchase the NFT directly from the director or the movie industry. So you download that into your system and then you watch it, and you own that on your computer. So if you go to resell it, the beautiful thing about it is that person that owns the NFT, not the person that bought it, but the person who made it, always gets a royalty from it for life, forever. Oh, wow. So me being an artist, I'm making these NFTs, and I'm going to put them up on the website that I'm working with directly. And every time that NFT gets sold, so when I sell it the original time, I get all the money. But if that person that bought it later on resells it, then I get a percentage of that sale. So if he sells it, like let's say he buys it for 1,000 from me, but then he resells it at $1 million, and my percentage is 15%, he's going to have to give me 15% of his $1 million.
Okay.
You know what I mean? And then the next guy that sells it again has to give me 15% of his sale. And it goes on forever because it's written into the code of the digital art.
Okay.
And that's, a lot of people aren't really studying on that because they think it's gimmicky, and but it's actually that's where art is going now. So
Okay.
a lot of people need to start paying attention to that. And if you need, if you're interested in it, we could talk about it, like, you know, on the private, like you guys want to hit me up. I'd be down to talk to you and put you up on the website that I'm working with, so that you guys can sign up and because most of the websites that are working with the NFTs right now are booked. Like you can't put anything on there. But I mean, Snoop just put out an album. Death Row just put out all their catalogs on NFT. Like it's just, it's amazing what's going on right now. People aren't even paying attention to it, really.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. That's really interesting. So, well, we're going to have to conclude, and you know, it's so much that you know we could talk about, you know, because we have such a great history in Chicago, and then just you and I together, you know, with what we've been doing as artists here in Chicago, and just being a part of this whole hip hop culture.
Yeah.
You know, and now it's 2021, and we have a variety of different tools that can help us do things at a faster pace. Tell the viewers where they can, you know, follow you or reach out to you or connect with you.
On Facebook, I'm Teel Serious. On Instagram, I'm Teel Paints. Or you can go to the Momentum Art Technologies on Facebook. You see me on there. Or you can email us at momentumarttech@gmail.com. And, you know, if you catch me on Instagram and you send me a message, you know, DM me, I'm 90% of the time always answer. I don't have somebody working for me or an assistant doing it. I'm the one answering you. So on the Momentum one, there's a few of us on there, but you know, we're all pretty nice people, and we're all going to answer you the right way. So there's nothing for you to have to, you know, if you have a question, there's no dumb questions. So just go ahead and answer, you know, ask us the question and we'll answer you the way that we can, you know, if it's answerable. You know, there's some questions out there that I just have no idea to answer. So I'll just tell you, I don't know.
Okay. Here's a comment I'd like to share by our homeboy Crumb. So he said, this was earlier, he made this comment. He said, dude, those boxes was the craziest thing I ever experienced. You would hear, you have 10,000 messages. People just would call one box like we only had one number. It was so many boxes, but you had to like hack into a box, like for real. I would stay up all night trying to crack a box and leave a greeting and a message.
Yeah. It's true. Yeah, man.
Yeah.
That's life. Yeah.
So that's cool. So okay, so let me ask you this, Teel, before we conclude. When is the projected time period for the release of the documentary It Was Ready?
So the time period that we have is September of 2022. Okay. That's what we're working extremely hard to launch the movie, where we're going to be able to show it to the public. We're planning to show it here first, if you know the gods are willing. Mm-hmm. You know, if that's our release date. We're hoping September of 2022. Well, we're not hoping. That's the date that we're pushing for.
Okay. Nice. Well, hey man, any last concluding words that you would like to share before we close out?
No, man, just keep it real, you know, to yourself. Don't worry about what other people have to say, and stay creative. That's it.
Cool.
Oh, hey, don't forget to shop at Momentum Art Tech.
There you go. Yeah, y'all heard it. Yeah, and then you can also visit the website at momentumarttech.com.
Yes.
So yeah,
we're in the process of opening up a store in Denver, Colorado right now.
Oh wow, excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent. Wow. That's interesting. So that's you all heard it from the man himself. And hey man, I just want to say thanks for coming on the show tonight. You know what I'm saying? It's glad to chop it up with you, man. Thank you for allowing me to be a part of the project. And and we just keep doing it like we do, man, like we always been doing. We gotta, like you say, we gotta represent our city and let people know what we've done before it's too late.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we are definitely over our time period, but hey, it was a great show, great interview. Tell the crew I said what's up.
I will.
Tell the team I said hello.
Right.
And until we meet again, man. Hey, and everyone else, don't forget to rep your city. I'm Artistic, and we are out of here.
Peace.
Oh, by the way, too. Teel, hold on just a moment before you close off. I'm gonna close the show out, but we're gonna meet backstage to just chop it up for one short moment, okay?
All right.
Okay, cool.